delicious cold brew. I love cold brew. Do you? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. This is another episode of Coffee and Contemplation. You guessed it, or you didn't guess. Either way, you're here now, and that's okay. We're listening to me, your old boy, Old Heart, trying to synthesize a little bit of information I probably need to know. Well, we all need to know, really. Or maybe you already know, and you're just listening to this information on repeat. Or, maybe you didn't even mean to listen to this podcast. Either way, that's okay with me, as long as it's okay with you. It's only 13 minutes of endless nonsense coming out of my brain. Maybe. Either way. Like I said earlier, this is Coffee and Contemplation. I am drinking a cup of cold brew coffee that I brewed at my own house. I know. Thank you. That is the alive studio audience here at Old Heart. And let's see. Let's just dive in. Recently, I don't know if y'all have heard about this, but you probably should have, because it is actually devastating news. So the UN recently dropped a report listing basically a high extinction rate happening throughout our flora, fauna, our animal life. Basically, humans and human action are causing a massive extinction at an unprecedented rate that has not been seen before. And there have been other great extinctions before, if you're not aware of that. I was actually thinking about doing a couple of podcasts about the great extinctions. I just think it's kind of interesting to take note. Either way, I hopped on the UN.org. I kind of found just like a little article about the report. I definitely suggest looking up the report and reading it yourself if you want to know more information. It's something I'm chipping away at myself. Either way, it says nature is declining globally at rates unprecedented in human history. Recently, the report that was written up and dropped to the UN by the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, aka IPBES, basically summarizes the whole thing. The overwhelming evidence of the IPBES, say that so fast, IPBES global assessment from a wide range of different fields of knowledge presents an ominous picture, says the chair of IPBES, Sir Robert Watson. The health of ecosystems on which we and all other species depend is deteriorating more rapidly than ever, he says. We are eroding the very foundations of our economies, livelihoods, food security, health, and quality of life worldwide. That statement itself should be scary enough, but it is not, and that is fine. People don't need to be that scared from Sir Robert Watson's little statement there, but the thing is, this report was compiled by over 145... Don't laugh at their expertise. 145 expert authors from 50 countries over the past 3 years. There's inputs from another 310 contributing authors, and the report assesses changes over the past 5 decades, providing a comprehensive picture of the relationship between the economic development pathways and their impacts on nature. It's a hard thing to stomach, I understand. I really do. It's hard to stomach that we as people, functioning the way that we were raised to function, are destroying the world around us. But it's just the truth. What we are doing, because we have refused to try to evolve past where we are in terms of things like using fossil fuels and having to have it all. I don't want to say the big C word, but it's kind of like it. Either way, what I'm saying is we've gotten ourselves to a point, and it's hard to blame human individuals because this is what they were raised with. This is how they were, like, this is all you know how to be. There's no bigger entity out there saying like, no, you could still get better. It's like we're trying to get better for ourselves, right? But every single time that we try to pursue some sort of means to like fight this global change, this climate change, this global extinction, we're met with adversity. We're met with people who don't want the change, who refuse to believe in things, who, no matter how much evidence you stack up, have an excuse for it. Whether it's a religious excuse, whether it's just blind ignorance, whether it's just, well, maybe that's just how it is this year. Like, no, like, you can't just fucking brush this shit under the rug. I've talked about this shit on different podcasts before. Not that anybody's listened to them, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, back to the thing. So, based on the systematic review of about 15,000 scientific and government resources, the report also draws, for the first time ever at this major of a scale, on indigenous... Oh shit, shoutouts. Shoutouts to Phil Collins, shoutouts to Casserole, shoutouts to Evil L, shoutouts to Jamie B. Jammin, shoutouts to Mooner6, shoutouts to Harrison Hannon, shoutouts to Monk Flower Band, shoutouts to Stray Dog, well, and also shoutouts to Old Heart Radio, because why? I'm still here doing things, even if nobody listens, it's okay. And also shout out to anybody actually listening, kudos to you. Anyway, so like I said, for the first time ever on this scale, it also draws on indigenous and local knowledge, particularly addressing issues relevant to indigenous peoples and local communities, which is so smart when you're thinking about trying to figure out like how we're destroying the environment, basically, because some of these people, some have records and that go back further than ours. They're whether they're spoken records or just things that they don't tell the fucking white man, like, which is hold on to what you can. I understand that. Either way, they've drawn on a large variety of different resources to compile this information. They're really trying to get everybody's consideration into this to create that awareness. And a quote from Professor Joseph Satelli, who co-chaired the assessment, says, "Biodiversity and nature's contributions to people are our common heritage and humanity's most important life-supporting safety net. But our safety net is stretched almost to a breaking point." Almost. That's the thing. Like, I think this is what people are afraid of. We're not going to see a great difference in our lifetimes. I'm 30 years old, right? I'm not going to see, even if we start today as a world, turning this shit around and trying to, like, instead of damaging, we try to repair and try to impact as little as we possibly can. We're not going to see a huge change in our lifetimes. Right? Like, my parents are not going to see a huge change in their lifetime. And that scares the fuck out of people. They want the results, right? Because that's how they validate the action. You don't get to go around and change people's lives without a reward, right? For the reward for them. And that's what I think people are afraid of. They're afraid of doing all this drastic things, like stepping into the unknown and not getting anything for it. Finding out that it was all for naught. Finding out that it was just to, like, fuck over the fossil fuel industries. No, it's not. It will, but that's all right, because we can replace, like, even if you give a shit about the money-making aspect of this, we can take that money away from those industries and we can put them and inject it into other industries that will create other jobs and create other manufacturing opportunities and create a whole different, production. I mean, not that you should, I think that's the big thing that you should be worried about. You should be worried about the fucking planet being irreversibly damaged. Either way. Like, okay, so I'm drinking, like, for instance, I made this cold brew out of a naturally processed coffee that came out of the African country Burundi, right? It was like from the Gahahi region farm. There's not going to be, like, people predict that, like, within the next, like, 20 to 30 to even 50 years, at the tail end of what I've read, that things like coffee are gonna be off the fucking radar. Like, you don't get to wake up with your morning cup anymore. Does that make sense? It'll just be me and Contemplation, and nobody wants to fucking listen to that podcast. Like, you like chocolate? Get that shit out of here. You like seeing bees pollinating your fucking flowers? No dice. Shit's gonna be like a Black Mirror episode. Except we're too stupid to even fucking pursue that. The average abundance of native species in most major land-based habitats has fallen by at least 20% since 1900. More than 40% of amphibian species, almost 33% of reef-forming corals, and more than a third of all marine mammals are threatened right now. The picture is less clear for insect species, but available evidence supports a tentative estimate of 10% being threatened. At least 680 vertebrate species had been driven to extinction since the 16th century, and more than 9% of all domesticated breeds of mammals used for food and agriculture have become extinct by 2016, with at least 1,000 more breeds still threatened. This shit is not a joke. Like, I've barely given you any information on this. If you're listening to this, I want you to go out there and try and look that up. Look up the report, the UN report itself, and try and sit down and read it. It's scarier than a lot of horror that you're gonna read. It's scarier than that new Brightburn movie, which does look awesome. But it's facts, and that shit cannot be debated. Like, I'm sorry. Get your head in reality and start realizing that these are facts. This is the world we live in. You can die and go to Valhalla, you can go to heaven, you can go to hell, whatever. But the rest of us have to live in this reality and live here. And the facts are that we're fucking dying and we're killing everything with us. Either way, go out there and use your brain for good today. Every day's a goddamn good day to ripen up that coconut, and that ain't no fucking joke. I don't know how you want to do it. You can listen to me, you can go read a book, you can fucking have a conversation with somebody. I don't know. The point is that you do. You ripen up your coconut, you know more, and you keep going. Alright? So go out there, like I said, and use that goddamn brain for good. I'm gonna sit here and record some more podcasts. Probably try and make out with my girlfriend. Why? Because she's sexy as fuck. Either way, keep your stick on the ice.